Hi and welcome to my second video about drawing. In this video we're going to be drawing faces from the front. In the first video I covered drawing faces in profile. There's a link to that underneath this. Please take a look because that's got some really great fundamentals. This lesson actually covers something more complicated because when you're drawing the face from the front there are some extra difficulties that we need to deal with. You can see here that we're using the same traditional circle with the horizontal and vertical dividing line, and I've also taken a division halfway between the middle of the face, which will be where the eyes are, and the base of the face to get a rough position for the chin. You'll also see that I've sliced off the sides of the circle, and that's because from the front of the face you get a much flatter section than what you might first think. A lot of people use a circle to draw a face, but although we use it to start, it's not the right shape if we're going to get the sides of the skull looking correct. So there's an additional difficulty with drawing faces from the front, and that's symmetry. And by that I mean you've got features on the face that need to be roughly the same height. If they're not, you start to get some really weird things happening, and actually when you're better at drawing, sometimes you want that to happen. You want to get some unusual shapes. You want to get eyes or cheekbones slightly higher or lower, and you'll find that in most people, if you look at them closely, that their features aren't perfect and there isn't perfect symmetry. You can test this with a mirror by putting your face next to it, or there's probably apps that you can use now that do it. Anyway, the important thing is using those lines that we've developed, those horizontal lines, to make sure that we've got things level. So as you can see here, I'm filling in some details, but I'm trying to keep the shapes really simple for you. There's a really good reason for that. Like in the first video, we really don't want to get bogged down in really minute details right now, because that's going to come later on. What we're aiming for is a rudimentary understanding of where the shapes are and what they look like. You can see I'm drawing in the chin now using a number of diagonal lines just to make sure that it's right. The jawline is quite flat usually at people's chins, but then it curves up to the base of the jaw and then of course up to the ear. And the ear, you'll find, is in exactly the same place as it is when you're drawing in profile. It's quite a simple shape in this one as well. What I'm doing right now is taking the cheekbones and making sure I'm defining where the head starts to turn to the side. That's why I've added this little shaded area, just to help you understand those shapes. So this face, we could say, is just about finished. As soon as I add the ears, that is, and the pupils and iris. But as far as the practice goes, this is far enough. We've got the mouth, we've got the base of the nose, we've got the eyebrows in, we've got the sides of the face defined, and we've got the kind of cheekbone area looking like it has some definition. I'm just adding some detail to eyebrows here. You can keep your eyebrows quite simple. You don't need to draw individual hairs or anything like that. It's just a shape. We're really not getting into that level of detail right now. If you look in the mirror, you'll see that from a distance your eyebrows, it's very hard to see individual hairs. So just draw them as a shape. With regard to the eyes, I'm doing a rough circle here for each eye. It's important that they look in roughly the same direction. Otherwise you draw someone that looks a bit boss-eyed. And whilst you might want to draw someone a bit boss-eyed, if you don't, it's really important that you get those eyes aligned, which is surprisingly difficult. You'll notice that again I've avoided drawing any hair, and that's because we are focusing solely at the moment on the features of the face, where they should be to draw a face that looks accurate, and what they look like, what kind of shapes they are. So let's just cover that very briefly. The base of the nose, you can actually draw if you want to draw it roughly as a kind of flattened out V. You don't have to go to the level of detail I have when you're practicing here. You'll see that the lips, the bottom lip is fatter usually than the top lip, which tend to be a bit thinner. And with top lips, of course, they recede into the mouth, so they tend to be a bit darker. And when you're drawing something quickly, it's easier just to shade that entire top lip and leave the bottom one without any shading, although of course you can add a little bit. All I'm doing here in the video is just adding a little bit more shading, a little bit more detail to more clearly define the areas. But for the purposes of this video, for the purposes of what we're doing, this is done. Really, I could have another 10 minutes and I'd still be fiddling around with this face. It wouldn't necessarily look any better to you. It would just be me getting obsessed over tiny little details that I really don't need to. One thing I haven't done, of course, is added any eyelashes or anything like that, but again, we really are going to get into more detail at a later time. I'd really love it if you could just focus on the amount of detail that I've put in. And of course, if you want to send me any comments about whether or not this helped, or even email me any of your attempts, or post something on my YouTube channel, then that would be great. You can of course get in touch via my website at mattbryanart.co.uk. Thanks for watching. Next time we'll be drawing the face in a 3/4 view, but for now please hit the like button, comment and subscribe.